Hey, folks, welcome to a new episode of the Whiskey Ring Podcast. This week, we are going over to Western Kentucky, which we visited somewhat recently with Green River Distillery and Karen Wells over there. Today, we are still in the Eastern time zone, I believe. Or you guys in
No,
the Western?
we're in Central.
You're in Central.
We're in
Okay.
Central.
All right,
Yeah.
starting off strong. So we're still in Central time zone.
Hey, imagine that's what it's like in Kentucky because the time zone split Kentucky right down the middle. So you have to, even when you're talking to people in the state who've lived here their whole lives, you still have to emphasize to them, now we're talking about Central time. Otherwise, every meeting is wrong. Everyone shows up late. It's a thing here.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I did a trip up and down from like the Bourbon Triangle up in near Lexington, Bardstown, etc., down to Nashville, and had to keep changing my times to make sure I was right. I was calling every place to make sure I was
all
right.
the time.
So yeah. I feel you on that one. So anyway, starting over. We're in Western Kentucky in Central Time Zone, where we still visited pretty recently, and we are talking with Kim and Thom Bard of the Bard Distillery in Muhlenberg County. This has been an episode that has been a long time coming through persistence on both sides. We're thrilled to have you guys on.
Mostly yours.
Hey, that's fine. We're here. That's all that matters. So Kim, Thom, welcome on.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. And again, thanks for being so persistent. We'll get into this, I'm sure, in the podcast, but we are two people running a whole distillery. We have helpers, but we have a very small staff. So it's just,
I just get my lighter out and just light my calendar on fire about twice a week. So that's kind of what we've been doing now for years.
But thank you for understanding that.
Yeah,
You've been so kind and patient. Thank you.
Hey, at least you've got a ritual. I mean, that helps get you through the weeks. So.
That's right. Yeah, I have a chant that I've created, so it helps out. It makes it a whole thing. It's kind of it's a mindfulness event now.
I hear you. All right. So before we get into what will hopefully be some new questions for you and some new explorations, I'll throw it to you to start where we always start, which is, what is the origin of the Bard Distillery?
I'll let you take that, Mr. Bard.
Okay, I'll take it. So, of course, my name is Bard, and of course, Kim's as well. And everybody hears the name and assumes we're in Bardstown. We're not. We're about an hour and a half west of Bardstown, but the link there is my fourth great grandfather, William, was the founder of Bardstown. So he and his brother founded the town back in the 1700s. They moved there, or one of them moved there. My grandfather did. Raised a family. One of those family members moved off to Muhlenberg County in the 1820s, and we've been here ever since. So, that's kind of our link. And my entire life, I've always heard people, when they hear my name, they automatically say, "Oh, Bard, you must be from Bardstown. You must make bourbon." And I'd heard that since I was a little kid. And our family had never actually been a part of the industry itself that we know of, except on the consumer end. So we've always heard that, and always thought that was a cool little link to a beautiful little town. If anybody out there has never been there, it's a wonderful place. Mm-hmm. But that was always fun. But other than that, I was just always a consumer and just a fan of bourbon. And then one day, Kim and I were traveling back up here. We were living in North Carolina at the time. And we came up to visit some family, and we were wandering around, driving through, central Kentucky, and saw the sign for Maker's Mark. So we'd never been to a distillery, so we pulled in and just fell in love with the place. Just had a great time. Dave Pudlow was the person who gave us our tour. We were the only people there, and we thought it was huge. It was a whole lot smaller than it is now. And we loved it so much that when we were about to head back to North Carolina, we stopped back by about a week and a half later. This time there was another couple, so there was a total of 4 of us in the gift shop. And then this guy walks out, starts talking to us, and we didn't know him from Adam. And, we're having a good time. And he asked us if we wanted a tour, and tours were free back then. So we said, sure, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about. So he took us for another even larger, more in-depth tour. Well, found out after the tour that it was Bill Samuels. We never met Bill, didn't know who Bill was. And, now we get to see him pretty often, which is wonderful. But when we left there, we thought, we love everything about this place. This is great. We love the people. We love the passion that everyone had. We love the smells, loved everything about it. And we thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we did this someday? And that kind of planted the seed. And then, almost 10 years later, we bought property. Then 14 years after that is when we actually opened our doors.
And I didn't really know. I mean, he told me that his family founded Bardstown, but I'm from the Deep South. Bible Belt, Florida area. So I knew about bourbon, but I wasn't a connoisseur, except for I drank Maker's Mark because he loved it. But when he took me to Bardstown and I saw all the distilleries, I thought, this is really a thing. I had no idea that it was such a beautiful area and that 95% of the world's bourbon is made there in and around Bardstown. So it's just, like I said, I had no idea. I mean, the Bards of Bardstown, but once I got there, I thought, I'm really glad they founded this town where they did.
It is. And I mean, I've been fortunate to visit Bardstown at least twice, maybe 3 times. And once was the KBF, where it's just a madhouse.
Yes.
But also the other times being off season or before or after the KBF. And it's such a charming little town. It's like a couple thousand people. It's not huge by any means. And you get that small town feel and charm, despite, like you said, being so industrialized with bourbon in and around the area. Right. And Kim, I want to just pick up on something you said, which was that you didn't really drink much of this. And this is, I don't remember if it was your words or Tom's words on the Bourbon Life, but that you were kind of a bourbon wuss at the beginning.
I still am.
So, okay. I guess we'll come back to that, but clearly you drink enough to be part of running a distillery now. So
yes.
You both had a previous life when this tour was taking place, as you were talking about, in motorsports, in what's now the Xfinity Series. And Kim, I just was thinking of this question, as one of the drivers. From what I've heard of other, I'm not that familiar with motorsports. I have to be honest. I'm from New York City. Like we don't have a lot of racetracks around us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, there must be this adrenaline, and Thom, as a crew member, you probably felt this too in a different way. The adrenaline, the rush that you get from being in the races, preparing for it. Has any of that translated to what you guys are doing now, or are you still seeking that?
Yes. And Thom was a racer as well. He found out really early on in his racing career that it takes a whole lot of money to keep these cars going. So he went the crew chief, the crew chief route and the crewman route. Thank goodness, or we would have never met. But he knows that adrenaline rush too, as he grew up racing. But yeah, there is a transfer. I do still seek the adrenaline rush quite a bit, especially maybe when we're on the interstates and, terrorize people drafting and places I probably shouldn't pass, but anyhow, once a racer, always a racer, right? But this industry it changes so quickly, and to keep up with it, there's a constant ebb and flow of hills and valleys. So I feel like I'm on an adrenaline rush almost daily, just because of the way the industry is. Yeah, I love it. I dearly love it. We have such a passion for this, just as we have a passion for motorsports.
Yeah, and the best part about it is when you spend a lot of your life in an industry like motorsports and NASCAR, where it's adrenaline nonstop, it's work nonstop, you never sleep. Mm-hmm. People don't realize that. They don't get to see what's behind the curtain. They think, oh, I get to sit down and watch a race for a couple hours. Well, that's the easiest part of our week. We've got 100 hours of work in before we get to that point. So we have a different perspective when we started this business. Now, I'm not saying we don't get tired, because we do. We get tired, we get frustrated, but we also have we've been tempered in a different heat. So we just put our heads down and go, which is something you have to have in this industry. If you're going to run a distillery and actually try to enter this market, you've got to have either nerves of steel or some mental issues, or a combination of the two will help you tremendously.
The bourbon doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, the bourbon helps a little bit. But yeah, that's the main transfer that we have. It is exciting. There are a lot of similarities, but I think the ability to just handle the stress and do the work and not get bogged down. Again, we've been beaten about the head and shoulders for most of our lives in motorsports because it's cutthroat. This isn't a cutthroat industry, really. So at least there's not that. But yeah, it's been good. It was a good intro into getting into something like this because this is just it's a heck of an industry. I'll just give you that.
I still remember, Kim, to your point about driving too fast on the interstate sometimes that and passing like that. Some people may have heard the story, me tell the story, but when I was doing one of those trips up and down 65, I remember thinking to myself, I don't think I've seen one highway cop the whole way. And one of my best friends told me, who lives in Western Kentucky, he's like, yeah, they're not really looking for people who are doing anything like speeding or anything like that because it's an open highway. They're looking for the people who are doing the speed limit trying to go under the radar because like they're doing nefarious things over there. So if you're
the ones over here,
they are.
Especially when they're going under the speed limit and they still can't keep it in the correct lane, that's the ones they're looking for.
Yeah,
that's the problem child.
Yeah, and their car's loaded down. Yeah,
there's always something going on.
You're probably fine if you're going 85, 90 or.
See,
I'll
let, thank you, David.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that.
I'm saying a number about 10 over the speed limit because I'm being cautious over here, but I'll let you throw the number.
No, that's how she takes off at 10 over the speed limit.
Yeah.
Let's say if the odometer says a certain speed, I'm going to try it out. If it's a rental or if it's my car, or I don't care whose it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're used to going a certain speed, look, if you're used to going a certain speed, going 60, 75 must feel like you're just dragging ass to move along the highway.
It does. Absolutely. It does. It does.
Tom, I'm not trying to hurt you on this one.
I get it. I get it. I mean, I have the same adrenaline. I was a crew member, after I raced a while locally, I was a jack man, tire changer. I did all that stuff, so I used to jump out in front of people like her and hope they stopped so that I could actually service their car. So I get it. I get the same adrenaline issues, but I try to keep them off the road as best as I can. But anyway,
right. Fair enough. Back to the story, of course, of the Bard. So, you both have been open and laudatory about the guides and inspirations you've received over the years, starting with the 2 tours of Maker's Mark in, what was that, 2006, 2005?
2006. Yeah, I think December of 2006.
So, nearly 2 decades ago. So you've got that, then a decade after that, Paul Tomaszewski at MB Rollins and his camp distillery. Yeah. Casey Jones being nearby, Lisa Wicker, of course, and a number of others as well. I've been lucky enough to have 3 of those 4 on the podcast. I'm just missing Maker's Mark at this point. But so I can definitely empathize with you in how incredible they are and what they bring to the industry.
Absolutely.
You spoke a bit about Maker's Mark. I'm curious with Paul, with Casey Jones, with Lisa, what each of them brought specifically to your journey and to your inspirations.
It comes up every time that we talk to people about this industry. It comes up in the gift store or the gift shop or brand home almost daily about how giving the people are in this industry. If you're a genuine person and you show that you have a love for the industry, people see that, they feel it, whether it's a visitor or whether it's someone in the industry that we talk to or work with. There's a long history with Lisa Wicker, myself. I actually met her the first time I went to DC to fight for the federal excise tax reduction. We didn't even have a distillery then. It was two years before we opened.
Yeah, it was 2 years before we even had a still.
But we both knew how vitally important that would be to a craft distillery once we did open our doors.
A little history on that. Since Prohibition, the taxes that must be paid by anyone who makes alcohol in the United States was $13.50 per proof gallon. Oh, the big guys can stomach that a little more because they just build it into their cost. For a small craft distillery who doesn't have that many bottles that they sell, especially for the first quite a few years of operation, that was, a death sentence for the most part. The ones that actually were able to operate under those conditions, I don't know how they did it. But that fight to get it reduced down to $2.70 per gallon, which is, 400% decrease, that allowed craft distilleries to be able to actually thrive. So that was a big deal to actually go up there and get that done. American Craft Spirits Association, we're heading that up. They also, got some collaboration with Discus and with Kentucky Distillers Association, other guilds as well. So that was a big deal. But anyway, I digress.
Yes.
I just want to talk about what the FET was for those who might not know.
So I showed up there and I didn't know anyone in the industry. And Lisa and I met at the hotel that night, and a lot of other distillers were there from other areas of the country. And I just listened. And Lisa and I became fast friends, and we palled around the whole week that we were in DC. And she introduced me to everyone, because Lisa knows everyone, as you know. She
Yes.
never forgets a name or a face. She knows exactly what they do, who their kids are, their names. I mean, her brain is, I sit and look at her sometimes and think, how can she get all that stuff in that brain? It's just fascinating to me. But anyway, she's one of my dearest friends in the industry, and has been so helpful to us. If we ever have a question or want to know anything, we call her or text her, and she gets right back to us when she can. Sometimes it's just a string of cuss words, and she says, I get it.
Sometimes that's what you need. With Paul and with and Ibby Rowland and with Peg and AJ and everybody, and Cody and Casey Jones.
Such great people.
Yeah, it's just so wonderful to have them. With Paul, went to his Camp Distillery back in 2015, and Paul did his best, which is what he should have done. He did his best to basically scare everyone out of doing what they thought they were there to do. Because you go there, it's like, I want to be a distiller. He's like, oh, you do, huh? But he did a wonderful job. I mean, he talked about the goal was to say, okay, here's the brass tacks. Here's how this goes. And I'll always joke with him. He didn't do a good enough job of scaring me off. He should have done a little bit better. But he was very realistic, very upfront about how this operates, what you've got to be ready for. And then he did a wonderful job. And then he's been there for us ever since, every day. So he's just wonderful. Anything we ever need, he's there, very open. Peck and AJ, we have 1,000 stories with them, but we'll tell you one. When we were first about to release our first product, when we first opened our doors, we didn't, things weren't coming in when they were supposed to, but we had the juice, we had the bottles, the labels, we had all that, but we didn't have anything to put the labels on with. Our actual label machine, which is a manual one, it just hadn't come in. We didn't know if it was going to get here on time, and we needed to get it on the shelves. We were going to go broke.
We'd already released our date of our first release.
Because we had to. We needed to release that thing. Well, Peg called Kim and just asked, how's it going? And we told her what was going on, and they said, hey, just get your stuff to us, and we will get those labeled for you, so that you will have them on the shelf when you're supposed to go. And they meant it, and they kept calling. They said, we're serious. We'll come get it. Let's get this done for you. And they were just going to basically shut down what they're doing to make sure that we got going. And that was
what other industry does that?
Yeah. And now we just try to, we offer that up whenever we can. We've realized that everybody in this industry, for the most part, now there's a sore head in every industry, but for the most part, we've found that that's what this community is. It's stuff like that. Where if you need help, just call. We'll do what we can. But yeah, that's what they bring to the table, because they're just always there for us. I know that if we need anything, we can call and say, hey, I'm out of this. And they're like, hey, I've got some, I'll bring it to you. And having them within, 30, 45 minutes of here, it's wonderful, and it's a game changer. And of course, Maker's Mark just being there just made us fall in love with it. And they're the same way. If we actually need a question, we can call Maker's Mark. And if they can help us on a small scale as we are, they're happy to. They will get us in touch with the person who will have an answer for us.
And another shout out to Brent Gooden at Boundary Oak and to Mark DeTore at Dueling Grounds. They're this whole Western Kentucky group, and there are more coming on board every year. And Green River. Oh my goodness. We just spoke with Karen a couple weeks ago. We went to Owensboro Bourbon Society and did a tasting for them. Karen's great, and all of these people that have just welcomed us in and helped us with any question we have. Sometimes they just call us and want to rant as well, and we'll listen.
And I will, one other thing I'll put in is, going back to our NASCAR talk, it does remind us a lot of the NASCAR community, because obviously in that community, your whole reason for living is to beat the other people, is to do better than them and beat them in every possible way. So it's very competitive. It's very much, I want to do better than you, but I'm sad if you're not there next weekend. Where are you? What's going on? We'd love to see them do well. They love to see us do well. And that's how it is in NASCAR. It's how it is in motorsports.
If you break a part, someone has one on there. If you don't have one,
you want to you want to do well and you want to be competitive, but you don't want them to do poorly, And so, because I worked in other industries as well, like the steel industry, where it is cutthroat. The entire goal is to shut down every other steel maker every day. That's what you're trying to do. And that's a heck of a way to live. So I'm not a big fan of that. So I love the NASCAR model. I love the Spirits model. It's just a lot more fun to operate in an atmosphere like that.
And I'm sure if you ask Paul, how did he make it through with the before the FET was adjusted? The pink lemonade, man.
Absolutely.
I've bought many bottles.
Magical. Yeah.
And that's what we did the same thing. We started coming out because, it takes a while for your bourbon to age. So we started coming out with flavored whiskeys and cream liqueurs, which are still a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
And that pays the bills while our bourbon is aging. Now we have our Cinder and Smoke line, which is our sourced bourbons from Kentucky. Sometimes we'll introduce some bourbons from other states as well, because there's some other good stuff out there. But our Muhlenberg line is stuff that we make in-house from day one. That's our weeded. But yeah, while your stuff is aging, you gotta do something, because there is no rapid aging that works yet. And I don't think they're going to really hit that ever. Yeah, I'm so thankful he came up with that. But yeah, when I look back on it and think, my God, how did he and the literal handful of others in the U.S. survive with that $13.50 excise tax per gallon? I don't know how they did it.
Did to your knowledge, did anyone else come out of that distillery boot camp making a distillery or not being scared off?
The only other one that I know personally that I recall, I don't remember any of them from my class, but I do know that we have another distillery here in Muhlenberg County, Coalpick. Whitney over at Coalpick, he actually went a few years after me, I think, maybe not that far along after me. But I know that us two Muhlenberg County boys wasn't too scared off, so we kept going. But other than that, yeah, that'd be a question for Paul. Paul would probably have a better idea on, out of the years that he did that, how many.
That's a great question.
Yeah, how many walked away and said, "Man, that sounds like an ass beating. I'll take it. Give me two of them." It takes those of us who are masochists, to really look at that and go, "Yeah, this is for me."
I ask because I hear from plenty of guests who have started up distilleries or even second generation pulling up distillery, and they're like, if I knew what I know now, I would never have started this. I would never have gotten into this.
It does take a certain breed to be able to do this long term. That's for sure.
Thom had no gray when we started.
Yeah, this every year, even pictures from 3 years ago, there was a whole lot more color in this. So I don't know what's good. Eventually, I guess we're just gonna start shaving off.
Yeah, he calls it color.
Yeah, I call it color.
I'm getting
maybe we should call it contrast.
I call it distinction.
I don't know. There we go. There we go.
So I do have a question, by the way, on, certainly we'll get into the products later. So Cinder and Smoke, the Muhlenberg line, and I'll have a specific question about the apple pie whiskey. If we get to no other of the flavored whiskeys, the apple pie we must get to. As the last kind of question before we get into Bard starting, Thom, you said on both Bourbon Life and on Whiskey Lore that, as being a mechanical engineer, you might not know whiskey at first, but you know enough to know when someone else is full of shit.
Yes.
So
that is true.
As you're obviously now you know quite a bit more about whiskey, both of you do, than you did even a couple of years ago as you were starting, as you learn on the job. As you're bringing this campus back to life and bringing in new stills, new equipment, how has this, call it bullshit meter, served you well?
It's served us well in a lot of ways, where we didn't get stuck with something that costs a lot of money that now we have to somehow make it work. 'Cause we see that a lot in a lot of industries, but especially in the distilling industry, where, a vendor will sell them something And they'll basically, kind of like when you talk to somebody about a new roof, the first thing they ask you is, yeah, we install roofs. How much money do you have? Then we'll tell you what roof we're going to install. Well, that happens in this industry and all of them. So it's kept us from having things that we don't need. It's also saved us literally millions of dollars on just installation cost and any type of basic renovations because the size of our site, it's on an old school campus, so it's huge. And when people walk up, a lot of times just because they see it's big, all of a sudden their quote's going to be big. And then they'll show me the quote. I'm like, no, I wanted you to install one toilet handle. I didn't want you to install bathrooms for every house in this damn town. What's this quote for? Their mouth waters when they see a big site. So
we just show them the door.
Yeah.
We've gotten really good at just saying, nope, bullshit.
Yeah, you have 30 seconds now with me basically to show me that you're worth talking to when it comes to you want my money. Okay, well, here's what I want from you. But it's been very good. Now, here's the downside to that, and this is the bad. You can ask Kim about having a husband who spent his entire life using his hands and building things. That's all I've ever done. And then I'll go and get an engineering degree on top of that. So guess what? That means no matter what needs to be done, I go, I'll do that. I'll get to it. And now here we are. So that's the bad thing about my bullshit meter, because I think everybody's full of shit. I think I'm right, but it also it slows down the completion of projects to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, we're big do-it-yourselfers, and if we can do it, we do it, which is great for our bottom line. It's saved us probably millions, I'm sure, millions of dollars. But it does delay the process of getting things up and going. And I'm so thankful for Thom and his knowledge of everything mechanical and everything not mechanical. I mean, from rebuilding windows to fixing those toilets, and I mean, you name it. Something breaks at the distillery, Thom.
and a little more tangible view of kind of what we're really talking about is with the way this last year has been in the industry. We've seen not as many as you would expect, but we've still seen quite a few larger mid-sized distilleries shut down even before they get going. And most of that is that when there was a slight downturn or a hiccup in the industry, which this last year has been, the ones that were so upside down on loans and things like that, they couldn't catch up fast enough. So it got them. But they had the top of the line equipment, top of the line, facilities. And the thing is, that's great. I want that too. But you still have to pay those loans off as soon as you get going. So we've avoided the vast majority of that, so that's where it has come out pretty well for us to this point. It doesn't make things easy, but it kind of stacks the deck in our favor a little more, where just a little bit of success will actually have us where we need to be instead of hoping for a lot of success to pay the bills.
It makes our investors happy as well, because if we can save, $100,000 because we want to do it ourselves, it might take a month longer, but we can do it.
Most of the investors, yes. Every now and then you get one come in going, you got that new still going yet? We're like, no, not yet.
Oh, they all ask that question.
And they all ask that. I'm like, trust me, I'm trying. I want to make y'all money too.
The great thing is the investors that we do have, we have a very small group of just individuals that we've known or met through the industry. But they're so patient, and they just want to help. And
yeah, they're wonderful.
A lot of them have expertise in other fields. So good people.
Well, Thom, like you said, there's always a sore head in every industry. There's always a sore head on every board and list of investors too. That's gonna poke. So I have yet to hear a story other than that, for sure.
Yeah, you always get them in every group. But so like she said, so far with our group, we've been very, very fortunate with that. But you're exactly right. The time's coming. Yeah, that's just the way it is. That's Murphy's Law.
So as you indicated, your site for the Bard Distillery is a former 3-building, 33-acre campus, and one that you, Thom, and several generations of your family attended. Personal connection there. This is a site that was an elementary school up until the 90s. It was abandoned for a couple of decades until you guys came along. There are two lines of questioning in this. The first one is the only comparison I could think of on the scale and the educational component is the Bacta campus for Armagnac up in Vermont. where he took over the defunct college campus.
Mm-hmm.
When I was up there almost 2 years ago, I think it's 20 buildings. I don't know what the acreage is, but it's 20 buildings, and they had a quarter of them online. And it was costing about $100,000 a month for just the utilities for those 4 or 5 buildings. And so I just from that, I can kind of get an idea of how expensive it would be to revamp, keep the lights on, and they had a very short window between when the college closed and when they took over. You're dealing with 2 decades plus of dereliction. Catch up on. So when you decided, all right, it's a decade after the Maker's Mark tour, you're like, okay, we're leaving our jobs in NASCAR in 15 and 16. In 17, we're going to start this up. What was the process like for looking at sites, and how did you end up with this site?
Right back to Paul.
Yeah. So, well, while I was in Camp Distillery with Paul, of course, I was texting with Kim, with little neat things I was learning because, I want her to be excited too because she couldn't make it to the class. And the class was 3 or 4 days, I believe. Yeah. So
I was in Panama or somewhere.
Somewhere you were doing something, racing monster trucks somewhere. But I was on one of the last days. He was just giving some really good advice on, okay, we've gone through all these different steps. Now you need to figure out where you're going to have this thing. And he told us, he said, one thing that I would recommend is that start out with as big a place as you can. Now, if it can only be the size of a shed, fine, go for it. But get as big a place with as much room as you can, because you will need it at some point. If you continue to grow, you continue to expand, you'll need all the room you can get. So right then I texted her and I said, I wonder if those guys we know would sell us that old school, because some neighbors of ours had bought it when the school system sold it. And they weren't really doing anything with it. We'd asked them a few years before if they were interested in selling it, and they really weren't interested at the time. But I said, I really think that would be the best location because, A, it's 5 minutes from our house. That'd be fantastic. It's half a mile off of the Western Kentucky Parkway. So it's at a great location, and it's just beautiful, or it was when I was there as a kid. So I said, I think this is where we should do this. So she reached out to them and asked if they'd mind talking to us about it. So we met them up there and walked around and, of course, saw just how bad a shape most of it was in. And most of that was just, there's a reason they abandoned it for a reason. I mean, the school system sold it, for nothing because they're like, we need to move this thing. But after a couple decades or so, that's when these owners also said the same thing. They said, okay, we got to move this turd. What are we going to do with it? So then here comes Kim and I along with a big dream going, hey, we can handle this.
They tried to talk us out of it, actually. We're
I said, no, I think we could do something. But,
it's a little Paul on your shoulder too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how we picked this spot. And of course, we're thrilled because, I have a personal history with the building and my entire family did, but I'm not a rah-rah school pride type of guy anyway. But still, I'm partial to the buildings. The buildings, a small community like that, it's an old coal mining town. The coal went away years ago. So that means that their identity for the last 100 years has been that school. So when they shut the school down, that town, its identity was gone. So we thought, this is where we live. We love this place. Let's see if we can give some sense of pride, whether people drink or not, whether they even approve of alcohol or not. Turns out they're cool with it. But
some of them.
Yeah, most of them, thankfully. But we wanted to give them something to be proud of and to say, okay, yeah, we live in Graham. We wanted people to, when they said Graham, now there's something to talk about, and people outside of here will know. Oh, we know what you mean. We know that place. You've got the distillery that's on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, and we're starting to see that finally after these years of operating. That people are starting to realize that this is their distillery. This is the distillery in their little town. And that's what this was all about. And it's been a lot of fun.
And, a lot of those, it's still their school and they still call it the school. We call it the distillery, but they're just so thankful. The community is so thankful that we came in and saved the buildings. I mean, it started out as a K through 12 school, and then through the years just became an elementary school. I mean, there are just decades of people that went to school there. they were built in the 20s and 1920 and 25 and 1930. So that school has been there quite a while.
And in looking at pictures and seeing descriptions, Art Deco style, very much of the time. You can see even behind the years of neglect before you guys came back along, that these would have been beautiful buildings. And I can see how a town would surround themselves in an identity based on them. If it's just kind of concrete ugliness, then it's not much identity. There's not much character there.
Yeah. Right.
This thought just occurred to me, but with the buildings being so old and also having that unique style, this could be a double-edged sword. But have you looked into, or is there help available from like the Kentucky Historical Preservation Society or similar avenues?
Help?
Yeah. Well, we
like I said, double-edged sword. So
yeah.
Well, and you're exactly right. It's a double-edged sword because yes, you do become eligible for some help and funds if you are on the registry of historic places, which someone many years ago actually made it. We've looked. It is eligible, so we are going to at some point put in the application to get on the as a historic landmark. However, when you go to get funds to help you with the renovation, a lot of those funds are tied to putting some things back exactly like it was. And the truth of the matter is there are certain things we don't want to put back exactly like it was. So that's where it gets a little bit wonky, where you have to really decide, do I want to do that? Because in the end, you might be getting help with the money, but then in order to put something back that's historically accurate like they want, you have to spend so much more money to actually do it, that it either comes out as a wash or it comes out as costing you more than it's going to. So that where it comes down to exactly what your plans are with the building. And so we didn't do that because I like to have free reign on what we're doing with these buildings. I want to preserve the beauty of it, but I also want to give this a second life. It's a new thing. So whatever it needs, whatever looks good in a certain spot, that's what we want to do. Our house and everything we've ever owned has a very bohemian aesthetic to it. So we like, Art Deco, Victorian, Art Nouveau. You put it all together, even some mid-century modern. We like all kinds of architectural styles, and you kind of get tied in when you go for those that assistance on the historical landmarks.
I hear you. And I heard, I think it was with Drew on Whiskey Lore, that you are qualified for the brown sign on the highway, but it would cost quite a bit to get that up.
Well, we have a good update on that one because they just got installed 2 weeks ago. We have them now.
Congrats.
But I will tell you what happened is it took us years to qualify. It is hard to qualify for those, which makes sense. It should be. But when we finally were able to show the numbers and show that we deserve to have one of those big brown historic signs that pulls people off the interstate, by the time we did that, they changed the funding rules on it. It went from being $30,000 that you could pay over 10 years to $50,000 you have to pay up front. So suddenly we had that little issue, but we were able to get some assistance with that. We have a wonderful foundation here in Muhlenberg County called the Felix Martin Foundation. Felix Martin was a very wealthy person who passed and left his fortune to the county through a fund, through a trust, to be utilized to help the county. And we were able to show them how getting these brown signs would help pull people into Muhlenberg County that otherwise were going to keep going by at either 70 miles an hour or at Kim speed. And they were just going to keep on trucking. These brown signs are going to pull them off, and then not only spend time with us, but then they'll say, "Hey, we're going to spend the night, or we need to go eat. What else is there around here?" And we can point them that way. So we were able to get some assistance with them to help us get that going. We're so thankful for that. But yeah, they got installed 2 weeks ago. We're already starting to see the big difference. Yeah. I mean, we've had quite a few people that have already come in the distillery and got some great spirits. And they said, "Yep, just driving along, saw the big brown sign, it says Kentucky Bourbon Trail." So they whizzed off, and here they came. And so very fortunate to have that, because that's huge. Try to get people going 70, 80 miles an hour to just hit the brakes and go spend an hour and a half with you. I mean, it's hard to do, but those big brown signs help.
For sure. Every time I'm down there, I know that there's a brown sign that I'm skipping just for time, or I've got to get to, and I'm like, I got to get back and hit all of them. I want to get to the entire Kentucky Bourbon Trail. For what it's worth, and I'll decide if I want to cut this out or not. When I spoke to Karen a few weeks ago for Green River, we were joking about, not joking so much as like, I do want to come down. I want to visit Owensboro. Buddy Jake, Coming Whiskey, is in Owensboro. He was at the society. He knows you guys well. Like, I do want to come down there and visit with the baby, and with other things. It's not as easy to do, but it's easier to justify if, similar to what you're saying, if there's more than one place that you're visiting, then, and potentially like more than one place that can vouch for your visit, if you will, and say like, yeah, you should come down here. This is worth it. And because it is almost a separate part of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. You're entering a different time zone. It's an hour and a half from Bardstown, as you said. Yep. It's not going down Whiskey Row in Louisville and just hitting storefront after storefront.
Right.
So I hear
that. That's what we struggle with quite a bit, because I'm on the board of directors for the Kentucky Distillers Association, which runs the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. And that's one thing that we're
double-edged sword as well.
Yes, everything is anytime you're on a board. But it's one thing we talk about a lot, is that the Kentucky Bourbon Trail is doing extremely well. But for those of us who have gone way out into the wilderness of Western Kentucky to put a distillery up, we don't have the traffic flow that you have in the triangle that you mentioned. You're talking about Lexington, Louisville, Bardstown. There are millions of people coming to those areas all the time because they're large metropolitan areas. Well, Bardstown isn't, but you're close enough to Lexington, Louisville, Frankfort. Mm-hmm. Over to Western Kentucky, we don't have a lot of that. Owensboro and Bowling Green are about the biggest towns we have, in Paducah. But we're all spread out. It's like the outback in Australia. So to be on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, we're as much on the trail as Maker's Mark and Woodford Reserve and all of them, but we're over here. So that's why we love having more and more people on the trail, like Green River and Casey Jones, M.B. Rowland, B.H. James, Dueling Grounds. We're all over here to where people who love going on the Bourbon Trail, but maybe they've hit those spots in the Bardstown, Louisville, Lexington area. Maybe they've hit them all a couple times. And they're all wonderful, by the way. Love every one of them. Please go see them. But we're starting finally to see people going, you know what? Just what you said. There are 5, 6, 7 I can see now if I'll just go spend a night or two over in Western Kentucky and see what else we got going on.
It's a completely different experience than the big guys. I mean, people that come to us, and we hope they're not saying it disingenuously, but I mean, they tell us this is what we've been looking for. The individual feel of when they walk in the door, we welcome them, either Thom or myself or one of our girls that are just phenomenal. We make them feel like they're at home. A lot of times with the bigger distilleries, that's missing because they've just grown so big and grown so fast.
They're just so big, and there's just so many people there. Yeah. It's just hard to get that connection. And again, I still say go see all of them. They're wonderful. We love going to all of them. Absolutely hit the big guys and hit the ones that are in those bigger areas. There's some craft guys up there too that are just like us. They just have more traffic going by. But no, we love having more people over here. We love sending people to Green River. They send people down to us.
They do.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build up this section of the trail so that people go, you know what, this time I'm not even going to go to Louisville, Lexington, Bardstown, Frankfort. I'm going to go over here, hit these guys. Hey, by the way, you can still be in Bardstown, Louisville in an hour and a half. You're not that far away. So start here and then mosey over there. Do something like that.
If Kim's driving, you might get there in an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah, I usually don't give her reference of how long it takes to get somewhere. It's not ill-advised.
Sorry. That'll be my last reference. Sorry. So jumping into the building itself, I know you've been working this entire time so far on 2 60-gallon pot stills. First in what you've been calling the green room, and now in the gymnasium on the stage in there. So, it's maximum 2-3 barrels a week if you're going hard on those things.
Right.
Yes.
You've
sleeping on the bleachers.
Exactly. You alluded to this earlier, and said on Whiskey Lore that you've got the Vendome column coming in 34-foot, 12-inch wide still.
14 inch. 14 inch, actually. Yeah.
14 inch.
Yeah.
So, a night and day shift. Not even, I think that's understating it, from 2 60-gallon pot stills.
Yeah.
Going from, you've quoted it, like 2 to 3 barrels a week to 20 barrels a day.
right.
With capacity. So I know as of that interview, which was a little earlier in 2025, a couple months ago, the stills were still on the stage and the column still was to be installed. It was kind of imminent, but not on the doorstep. What's the update on that?
Right now, the column still is in the building. It is in the main building, bolted down. And now our fermenters have been completed. They're also at Vendome in Louisville. So we're about to get those heading our way soon. And we're Johnny cashing this thing. It's one piece at a time. We just, again, going back to the original conversation about, wanting to do everything ourselves. We also do it when it makes sense to do it. Especially right now with the way the industry is, if we were able to crank up, do 20 barrels a day next week, we're probably not going to do 20 barrels a day. We have Jim Beam shutting down. George Dickel hasn't made a drop all year. Bullet hasn't hardly made anything. So it doesn't make a whole lot of heck of a sense for me to just go full song either. So we're piecing it together, getting it all in place as we go. But yeah, the column is there, which is it's getting gorgeous. Got to getting a good patina on it. It's going to look old before we finally crank it up, which is kind of good. But I wish I could get to it. But yeah, we're excited about it because it gives a lot of our life back and allows us to actually put bourbon away to sustain this distillery and its brands, long term, because you can't do that with two 60-gallon pots. You just can't have a long-term vision. Those were our COVID stills. We thought that we would only operate off those for a few months and get a bigger still. Then the pandemic hit, and then we just ended up getting stuck there. And so here we are 5-6 years into operating. We still have those little 60-gallon pots. They make beautiful bourbon, but
they do.
My God, it's again with that column, I can make 6 barrels before lunch on a Monday morning. And I mean, that's 2.5, 3 weeks worth of nonstop work with those two little 60-gallon pots. So yeah, it's going to be a sea change for us for sure when we get it up and going.
For sure. And I mean, you said to Drew as well, your Silver Mule as one of the products has been part of your core identity since you started working the 60-gallon pots. But you hadn't been able to put down any of it because if you had to choose between putting down whiskey in barrel and the Silver Mule, which is lightly aged whiskey, I think is the term you used.
Yeah.
You got to put down what's going to be long term. That just makes sense.
Absolutely.
So
that's it.
So just to check, have you been able to hold firm to that? Like no Silver Mule for now. Wait until the column still.
And it's been hard because this business is like every other industry on the planet. It's amazing how things get cyclical. All of a sudden, when we quit making the Silver Mule, of course, some people were kind of, upset and missed it. But, after about a year of not seeing it anywhere, they kind of calmed down. And then nobody was buying clear, new make anyway. Then all of a sudden in the last year, there's been an uptick again. Suddenly people are just coming in, just wanting it. And it's interesting. And we're trying to figure out where the trends are causing this. And we really haven't found it yet. But, yeah, all of a sudden there's a demand for it again. I'm like, well, if you hold off another maybe 6 months or so, I should be able to start actually getting that Silver Mule back going. But yeah, that's what we've been waiting on, is just the capacity, the ability to be able to sustain all of that. And yeah, we're close. We're excited about it.
So there's two things to consider here. You've got this massive change from both the pot to a column, the scale itself. And I asked this question of any distillery whenever they're doing a shift like this, and it happens. I mean, I'm sure from being in this industry, it happens more than you think when people just need more capacity or something else. How are you pre-planning and planning to continue the profile that people have grown to love especially with the Muhlenberg line, now that you'll have a completely different style of still?
So it comes down to the analogy I've always used is that if you hand my grandmother and her grandmother and your grandmother the same cookbook and say, turn to page 67, now make that. Even though it's the same cookbook, same ingredients, same deal, it's all going to taste different because that's just the way it is. So I still come back to when you're actually making the product from scratch, the distiller at that point is the most important variable. You hand any great guitarist a crappy guitar, they're still going to sound like them. And it's the same way with this. So we've heard the same questions as, well, how are you going to be able to replicate that flavor profile on a column still? A lot of times with some disgust, depending on who you're talking to. And I'm like, listen, you dial it in. It's just like anything else. And going back to my cooking analogy, if Kim, everything she makes is fantastic, but I'm not worried if I put her in someone else's kitchen. I'm not concerned that it's not going to come out the same. Of course it is. So we just have to tweak it. We'll know that, okay, here's what from the knowledge that we have and the knowledge that others in the industry have given us on this is what I'm going for. What do you recommend are my starting settings on this column? And then you just tweak it. You tweak it until you get it and go, yep, that's what I recognize right there.
Slow roll.
And you can't recognize, when you're done, you're ready to put it in a barrel. You can identify, okay, this taste going into the barrel equates to that other taste that I'm going for in the bourbon 5 years from now. So it's just like cooking. People who cook a lot and really like the culinary arts, the any type of food science, they understand that switching equipment isn't as big a deal as it has to be. You just dial it in until you get what you want. So we're not concerned about it. As a matter of fact, I'm excited about making what we want on a larger scale. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we also don't do anything crazy anyway with those pots. So we never introduced any insane methodologies or procedures or processes. So I don't have that many things I need to tweak to get back to what I was going for.
Fair enough. And I know you've said on the topic of the pots, because it's electric heated, there are elements there that you couldn't distill on grain in those, so right. You don't have to. Yeah. That does change the flavor, so you don't have to really concern yourself with that.
Right.
And it's an advantage I didn't quite think about, but you said it on the Bourbon Life with Big Chief. By the way, you and Big Chief, battle of the low voices. Battle of the deep voices on that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what,
in heaven, getting between them.
I'll tell you what happens, and men who have the deep voices like I do, it's never an intentional battle to see who can get deeper. It's a natural. I think it's in the brainstem. When two people deep voices start talking, they just keep getting lower and lower and lower, and you don't mean to do it. Hopefully, I haven't listened to it yet because I was there. Live. I saw it live, so. Hopefully we didn't do that to where we were just grumbling at each other at the end. But that's something that happens a lot. And that's something that, those of us with the deeper voices have to watch.
He and his father would do that.
Oh, yeah. Next thing you know, it just sounds like two bears.
Two bears.
Growling through the woods. Yeah. And we were just talking.
It's like taking an audio track out something and just pulling it down slowly over time.
Mm-hmm.
So deeper. But anyway, I digress. But so on the Bourbon Life, you were saying that you have a benefit in that not a lot of people have tried the aged product at the end of its aging, because you've been around, you're 7, 8,
six, just turned 6 as far as how long we've been distilling.
Right, because it was right before COVID, right? So hard to believe that's been almost 6 years ago. So 6 years. The Muhlenberg line, that is, I wanted to say finished. To be clear on what I mean ready for bottling, finished. Is just coming online in the last couple of years. So it's not, and at the scale that you were doing it, it's not like you have millions of people buying bottles expecting a profile and then worrying that it's going to change. I think you said I'm sure you're going to have a couple of people who are like, this tastes different or still different. You've also got a couple of years to worry about that, if you will, because you got to make it on the column and then age it.
Right.
So that gives you a little more wiggle room to play with the new tools. Like you said, dial in after the default settings and get it where you want it.
Right.
Have you reached out to anyone that could be including Vendome, but also other people who have made that transition to say, hey, what did you do to continue this profile?
We have a whole list of people.
Yeah, we have all kinds of people all through Kentucky, which they're the best ones to talk to because we also share the aging profile of the weather. Because that's something else you got to take into effect is that when you want to talk about a specific outcome, I think it's really important to talk to people who age theirs in the same climate as you do, because that's where you do get a tremendous amount of your flavor from. So you also want to talk to them and say, okay, is this the transition I should make, or these are changes I should make that will transfer correctly in that barrel in our weather climate that we have in in Kentucky. But we also have friends all the way out in, Montana and even Texas and Colorado who have also made that transition from pot to column. And yeah, they've all said, hey, they've given us some just general bits of advice. But the main advice they all gave us was call us once you start, doing it, and you'll probably figure it out yourself in the first couple runs before you even get a hold of us. But they're all on standby, all ready to go. Again, you just can't beat this industry. I mean, we got people who just said, man, if you can't dial it in, I'll just come down. They want to come down to Kentucky anyway. I'll just fly out and, I'll look at it and we'll play. Yeah, we have a lot of people on speed dial ready to help us if we have any issues.
And as you were referring to earlier, with Peg and AJ helping you out with packaging at first, just putting the labels on. We're talking with a couple of recent producers. Now I think about it, Charbet out in California, and Distillery Modern Art over in Georgia. And when it's collaborative like that, and you're just like, you know what, maybe I don't want to start a distillery or have an entire still and all the fermenters and all that. I just want to make a really good product. Can you help me package it?
Yes.
It's really not hurting anybody. And the collaborative spirit is just, it always gives a smile to my face to hear that, because it could be super competitive. And we know at the corporate level, it's super competitive. Of course, you want to, if you're the size of some of the big boys, you want to outsell your competitors and be higher on the charts. But it's also realistic. I'm going to put words in your mouth, and please tell me if I'm wrong on this, but you can ask Green River for their help and advice on their maturation, because it's nearby and it's a similar climate profile. But what they do with the 54-inch column might not be applicable to you guys with a 14-inch column.
Right.
Some
things will translate because they're both Vendome. But you're exactly right. We can ask them anything that's applicable. They'd be happy to help us. But there are certain things that just because of scale, and you can't, not everything is linear. If I did 2 of this to 2 of that, you do 18 to this, and it doesn't mean you're going to do 18 to that. Not everything is linear in this, because once you start dealing with, and that's one cool thing about my background being a mechanical engineer, is that I, on a basic level, understand, because I spent years studying thermodynamics and everything else and fluid flow, so the vapors. So just without sitting around and actually thinking too hard on it, I can look at it and go, again, where my bullshit meter goes high, I can at least look at something and go, all right, I know just enough to know that that's probably not going to work like this person's telling me is going to work. Just because I understand enough about how all that stuff G's and haws. But yeah, a lot of things translate, some things don't, between us and bigger guys. But it doesn't take long to figure out what that little extra variable is that you just put in. I remember in all my engineering classes, I took stupid math, like, Calc 4, which is differential equations. But all through math, you always come across a formula that you use that is a mile long. Then all of a sudden there's just a 2 in it. And you're like, what's this 2? And they said, we don't know. We just know that somehow solves the problem. If there's a 2 right here in this parentheses in this formula, it just fixes it. I'm like, okay, well, that's scary, but whatever, as long as it works. And sometimes that's all you're looking for when you're comparing apples to oranges. You're just looking for that 2.
That is a quote that I need to hold on to, because it's so accurate, but it's also, you're only going to know it if you've done Calc 4. So sadly. Our
don't ask me to do it today. I can't do Calc 1 today. It's been too long.
I got through Calc 2, and Calc 3 just kicked my ass. I've never felt so unprepared in a class on that. Used to be going for biochem when I was in college. So Calc 3 did Orgo.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was hard. Anyway, so I know our time is going quickly here. I still got a bunch of questions for you. So
you don't want to talk about calculus some more? I know your audience loves calc.
I can talk about calculus for sure, but
please spare me. I'm on here too.
Fine.
Kim
fine. We'll do another one, but just calc based.
She'd rather go 50 on the highway than listen to this. So.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
So
sorry.
we'll jump into the products themselves. So as you said earlier, the Muhlenberg line is your house-made, in-house. Either way, that works, I guess. House-made. It's wheated bourbon, an homage, as you've said in other interviews, to your experience at Makers. and how much you just grew to love the wheated bourbon profile. Whereas the Cinder and Smoke is a sourced and contract distilled line from other distilleries, mostly from Western Kentucky. I had originally that it was all from 4 to 5 Western Kentucky distilleries, but the last interview I listened to before this said, okay, we're bringing in some stuff from other states as well. So I won't say exclusively Kentucky.
We have used like for our Excelsior. Our Excelsior has Tennessee in it. Of course, that was our 17 year. That was our older stuff. We do have some other stuff that we haven't actually used in our Cinder and Smoke yet from other states, but we have it in stock. Because we're going for the taste profile. We're going for what is good, what makes a very unique bourbon with our Cinder and Smoke. But right now, everything that we have out there is still all Kentucky at the moment. But we have branched out from Western Kentucky. We have some stuff from all over Kentucky now, and just tasting stuff and seeing okay, what's unique, what's different, what adds a different element to what we're putting together. Because blending's where a lot of the fun is. I mean, distilling is one thing, but what you're actually, the distiller has to make things that a good blender has to work with. So the blending is also as much of an art as the distilling is, putting things together that makes something really unique and really wonderful. And it's there's a lot to it. It's not as simple as just pour it in, stir it up, bottle it, and you're done. There's a lot that goes into making sure that spirit is interesting when you pop it.
The word blending was a 4-letter word for a long time in this industry, and I truly believe that it has become a revered art more so than something to be avoided on.
Agreed.
And I'm so happy about that. So the first question I have is the Cinder and Smoke line, much like Silver Mule at the beginning, flavored whiskeys, things other than the aged spirit that you would have in the Muhlenberg line, started off because you need a cash flow at the beginning. So, a half decade plus down the line, it sounds like you're still sourcing contract distilling with same distilleries, new distilleries as you'd like. Do you see Cinder and Smoke being a long-term permanent part of this, or is it something with a terminus once all of the Muhlenberg line is ready and at a sustainable readiness?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so I'll start off and you can get it on if you want to. So we have put rye down as well. We just have focused mainly on the Muhlenberg because with the way that we do it, we have found that our wheated bourbons tend to come of a drinkable age quicker than our rye bourbons do. So we do have some rye bourbon that we put down with those 2 little 60-gallon pots. They're just not ready yet. I'm not happy with them just yet. They're getting close. But again, it's minimal amounts. So Cinder and Smoke, no, we still look at that as actually our flagship bourbon that we're going to be producing. And we have identified with the blending that we've done, every barrel that we use, we know what the mash profiles are. We know the processes that went into it. So we tend to gravitate towards the same type of MO, we'll say. So we already kind of know on our column what we want to do to create the profile that we have created with Cinder and Smoke. So we've kind of been testing out our profile on stuff that other people made. So it's another handy way of saving a little bit of money. We're like, man, this is great stuff. And if you look at the awards that we've won and the feedback we get on our Cinder and Smoke stuff, we've used good stuff and made great stuff with it. And we have good notes on what they did to make that. We're going to replicate that. But no, Cinder and Smoke is going to be around a long, long time. We love the brand. We love what we've created with that. And we are starting to use more and more of our own stuff. A few of the last batches of our Cinder and Smoke Founder Select, not the very last one, but before then we had some of our own juice that we were able to put in there. And then we also just came out with a John Prime Muhlenberg, which actually is a rye-based bourbon. It's the only Muhlenberg we've ever done that's not wheated. But we were able to put some of our juice in that as well. So we are starting to sneak it in. It's starting to get in there. And then just as quick as we can get to that point, that's what it will all be.
Remember you saying, I forget which podcast it's on, but what you just said, that the wheated bourbon was ready faster than the rye. And I feel like that's unusual. It's usually the rye is fast, the wheat takes longer perhaps than a standard bourbon, if you will, even a 4-grain. And some people do 4 grains for the purpose of aging them faster. So do you have an idea of why that might be the case, why yours kind of flipped expectations?
I think with us, it has a lot to do, I think, with our barrels. We use, especially for most of our barrels, we use Zach Cooperage out of Hodgenville.
Hey, Zach.
And they do wonderful work. And we get a really heavy char, and we have a specific. The barrels that we've gotten from them are aged. They're
seasoned,
air seasoned for a certain amount of time, and then we also have them in some of those barrels put the grooves in, which increases surface area by about 10%. And then for most of these barrels that we've been putting away with our 60 gallons, it's a 53-gallon barrel. I haven't been filling it all the way, so I've been leaving a ton of headroom in there. Okay. So almost like treating it like a 30-gallon barrel in essence, but just with a whole lot more headroom in it. And just the way that we have been barreling, I think comes down to the main reason why our wheated just would get the color and get the flavor quicker to where it was able to come out. Now, the wheated that we have released, our Muhlenberg bourbon, we tell people this is a young bourbon, and it is. It's a very young bourbon. We think it's wonderful for a young bourbon, and for the price point. But I still, we're still trying to age of that as much as we can to get closer to that sweet spot, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So we're trying to get there without using up all the barrels we've made. But what we have found is just the way we barrel it, and just for whatever reason, the wheated suited us quicker than the ryes have. And maybe
it could be the space that we haven't stored.
Could also be our palates, David, because she and I both like a smooth bourbon.
Bourbon wuss.
Yeah, like she said, she's a bourbon wuss. But we still both like a smooth bourbon. And rye is known for its spice, it's known for the spicy notes. So maybe our rye may be perfectly ready to go right now, but for the profile we're going for, it's not there yet. We want it to mellow out a little bit more. And so maybe that's what it is.
I think because I am such a wuss when it comes to bourbon, if it's not smooth and almost creamy and the mouthfeel, it turns me off. So when we blend our bourbons to go into bottles, I am really cognizant of that and we get people that come in the distillery that have never been to a distillery or tried bourbon before. And our bourbons are very approachable to people who aren't bourbon drinkers. And we have people that walk out every day with a bottle that they've never bought bourbon before and I think that goes back to how careful we are when we're blending, because we want that smooth, not bitey. I understand the ryes, always have that spiciness, but there is a vast difference in the wheated and our rye bourbons. And we know what we're going for. And I know what is drinkable to me. And that's what we try to put in a bottle, because if I like it, most people will like it. That's at least my opinion. I may be wrong on that, but it's served us well so far.
I also defer generally to women's palates, because you just have better palates than we do biologically. So I will give you.
When you look at our industry, you can see that, right? I mean, you can tell that the ones that are known more widely are the female palates, and all the way through the industry. By the way, I mean this is definitely one of those industries where you can try to be a chauvinist, and there's plenty here, but you're not going to get as far as you think you are, because you're no business.
To that. Amen to that. So for the components of your Muhlenberg in-house whiskey, and could be both the rye and the wheat, I'll let you tell me this. For the barley component, I heard you use a darker roast, like a chocolate or near chocolate malts on this, paired with, at least for the wheated bourbon, a red winter wheat. How did you come to that choice?
That came from just years of drinking other people's bourbons and trying to decide, what hits our palates the best, and then finding out, okay, so what's different about this one versus that one? And we just started to see a trend of the red winter wheat just always, just hit the right spots. Now on the barley, that, because we had always been told by almost everybody, the barley's really in there just to activate the corn during the cooking process. It helps you release the enzymes. That's why barley's in there. It doesn't really add a lot to the flavor until we got our first handful of chocolate malt. and she starts eating it like it's Nestle Quick Powder. She still does it whenever
still do.
she'll walk up there, just get a handful of it, just start munching on it like it's Nestle Quick. And so the first time that we got a hold of that, I said, I think I want a whole lot more barley of this, especially in our mash bills. So on our rye and our wheated bourbons that we put away, we normally, the stuff that we're doing, most of the things that we've done is somewhere around 14-15% malted barley, sometimes more than that, because we're not doing it just to activate the corn and release the enzymes in the cook process, but we can taste it. We can taste that flavor in there, and other people can as well. And usually when they're trying to figure out why something that they're tasting of ours, especially our Muhlenberg or wheated, they're like, why is that so different? What am I getting? And as soon as we tell someone who's really been studying this for decades, say, oh, we use about 15%, malted based chocolate malt barley, then suddenly, oh, that's it. It's just, it's almost like an extra sweetness. So we love it. So we're big barley fans. So we will also play around with doing just single malts at some point, which, in Kentucky, they're like, oh, why would you make anything other than bourbon? I'm like, well, because I like it, damn it. That's why. It tastes good. So that's what I'm going to make. Because we have some wonderful friends who make fantastic single malts all over the U.S. And now, the Woodford Reserve's making some. I know that, Freddie No has been making some over at the Beam Craft Distillery. So you can make a fantastic single malt on a column. You do great work. So we're looking forward to that too. But yeah, I'm a big fan of chocolate malt. And I know she is, because again, I have to give her away from it. She eats it before I can cook it.
We measure it out, and then we have to remeasure.
Yeah, if we're doing a small batch, she just goes by, just starts eating it, and then hand it to other people. Go, here, try this. I tell her, stop that. That's not what we sell.
It's probably your most expensive grain too, right? Or unless the rye is taken.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah,
it is. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hey, look, again, woman with good taste. What can we say? It's, respective. And I appreciate that too, because with the malting over the past year plus, I've come to realize just how much I appreciate malt in a bourbon or a rye, but especially in a bourbon. And it really started with the guys over in Chattanooga. Is the first time I had Chattanooga bourbon, the 91, I didn't appreciate it. I didn't really like it. It was too malty because I was fairly new. I didn't know what the hell I was tasting. But then tasting it again a couple of years later, they've got 25% malt in there. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And with 3 or 4 different types of malt. And then through Providence or through just happenstance, I don't know, I ended up tasting a lot of malted bourbons over this year. And each one just kept confirming to me, wow, okay, maybe this is what some more bourbons need to differentiate, to add more flavor, to add more body in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
With the chocolate malt, one of my thoughts was it's clearly a very strong flavor. You get it's chocolate, called chocolate for this because of the roasting level, but it also gives some dark bitter chocolate notes and some coffee.
It does.
And, burnt caramel kind of thing.
Yep.
So, which can be great. I do wonder, how much did you have to play with it to get, you were saying like the 14-15%, so that it didn't overtake what could be a very delicate grain in the red winter wheat?
Well, that's easy. We tried one at 20 and didn't like it, so we backed it back down to 15.
Hey, easy answer. I like it.
It's the way we do everything.
There's a lot of that goes on in this industry.
We back down.
It's the same.
We get to the point where we want it.
It's the same way she used to figure out how hard can I go into this corner at Charlotte. Oh, that was too hard.
Yeah.
And so was the wall. And that's how you find out. You hit the wall a few times, and then the next time you go out, go, okay, I'm going to let off a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Like our 94 proof, we have a cinder and smoke that's a 94 proof. Same thing happened. We sampled it at a higher proof and weren't really fans of it. And then we went way below 94 and didn't like that either. And it just wanted to be at a 94 proof.
Yeah, it'll let you know. It'll let you know. But yeah, I've had Chattanoogas. I've had the one that's the 25%, and it's wonderful. I mean, it's great. But for our profile with what we were doing, when we tried it more than 15, it was like, okay, this is getting too much. Now, even just off the still, we can really tell that, there's a lot more going on than what our profile was going for. And again, like we talked about, we go for really smooth, and it was almost like it's kind of like you'd have something that's too sweet. And that's what we were starting to kind of taste if we went too much higher than that.
And
But
going back to those little stills, sorry to interrupt you, but those little pot stills have allowed us to do small runs and experiment where people with larger stills, I mean, that's a lot of waste if it's just not what you're looking for. Now, you make it and you blend it into something else if it's not what you really wanted. But the experimentation level, I want to keep those little stills. They're a lot of work. And when I say a lot of work, if you've never made bourbon on a small pot still and had to screen it and then shake it out to separate the grains from the liquid on a shaker table, you're not making bourbon. Come do it our way.
Yeah, and see if you still want to do this.
It's doing it the hard way.
It's an insane amount of work on a small scale.
It's so hands-on. You really get into the minutia of the flavor profiles and what you like and what you don't like, because you can afford to make a mistake.
I mean, you can partner with Paul, make this, like, if Paul doesn't get them talked out of something, you can have them do the shaker table and that'll take care of it, I'm sure.
There you go.
Yeah. So he needs to bring that. I don't think he's been doing that class for a couple of years now. But he needs to crank it back up, and then we just need to go in there and it'd be like boot camp in the Army. We just go and start screaming at them, getting in their face, and just seeing, if we make them cry, we're like, good, our job is done. But yeah, we need to add some more elements, some scorched earth to the training and see what people think.
I like it. With the flavors that you're doing, how did you go about choosing your yeast?
We had a conversation about this yesterday.
We were talking about yeast yesterday. We kept it real simple because at the time that we started to actually distill, we knew Pat Heist and the folks at Wilderness Trail, and of course they had firm solutions, and you just knew they were geniuses and they knew what they were doing. And we talked to some other people, and they said over at Wilderness they're making some really good distiller's yeast, and we're like, okay, give me some of that. So far we've just kept it really simple with our yeast because, obviously they have a proven track record of knowing what they're doing. Other people who have used their yeast have had a good time with it, and it's robust. I've really had no issues with it trying to, keep them living during harsh weather while during fermentation. And just the flavors have been great coming off. So ours is really simple. We just went with them because, first of all, they're local. They're, a couple hours away. They were known for making good product. It's affordable. So off we went. So we've kept it really simple. We look forward to the day when that's a variable that we have the bandwidth to play with some more. Because if you talk to companies like, Lallemand and some other ones that make, they will customize a yeast profile for what it is you're wanting to do. It's fascinating. And that's just a thing all to itself. That's how we chose our yeast. This is good. We can afford that. Let's use that. And so far, it's paid off pretty well.
Okay. Again, simple is sometimes easiest. I like it.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of a question I meant to ask just now, which was, Kim, you I think you said this, but I want to confirm it. Once the Vendome still is online, will you continue to use the 60-gallon pots for experimentation? Or are they going into storage?
We've gone back and forth on this. We have people that want to buy them. And then we have people that I'd like to keep them, but
here's the thing with those two stills. They have done a wonderful job for us, and they make a fantastic spirit. They do a great job for being basically some custom made. We bought them from Cold Pig Distilling, the distillery on the other side of the county, because they operated, I think, for about a half a day and went, okay, no, this is too small. This is too big of a pain. So then they us idiots called them and said, hey, we'll take those. But they've done a wonderful job. We've learned a ton on them. But it's kind of one of those deals where you look at your car in your garage and you bought a new one and you keep looking at the old one going, that's my old college car. It runs, but not very well. It looks ugly. It gets me from A to B. But do I really want to go drive that ever? And that's kind of where I'm at with it. You're too limited on the playing you can do because it's the heating element.
Yeah.
Because you got to be careful. You can't do anything on grain. You also, to get any proof, you have to distill it twice. Something else people don't think about, because you've got to be careful with those exposed heating elements. You can't put just 100 proof. You can, but you don't want to put much more than that proof alcohol back in there to distill again to get the proof up. So I would rather go to something that I can for an R&D still that I have a few more variables I can play with. So I'd like to retire them. I also don't want to sell them because if I sell them, then whoever I sell them to is going to be calling me up saying, "Hey, I got some questions about this." I'm going to say, "Man, I don't know. I don't know what." Stand on one leg and smack it here. I mean, that's how I've operated for 5 years. There's no good manual for these rascals.
There's not.
If that's the answer, though, stand on one leg and smack it on the side in this place.
Well, maybe that's the manual I should give them and just say, if this doesn't work, repeat step one.
Yeah.
Just tell them to keep repeating it. It will eventually work.
It could end up being it could end up being kind of a karma like thing where you give it to someone else and it's like that's their startup. But I mean, you've been in a good way. You've been very open to how much you've been able to call people and ask for assistance and like, what the hell am I doing here? What's this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you'll have people calling you now. What they're calling you about might not be your favorite thing, but
right.
Turnabout it's going to be fair play on that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So with the two main whiskey products, we'll call it three, including the Silver Mule, the Muhlenberg wheated. You have the rye sitting, but it hasn't come out yet. Silver Mule, which is on pause until the column comes out, and then the Cinder and Smoke series. I'm certainly I hope to try one of those. I'm looking forward to it. I just kind of ran out of time before the episode before we recorded with the holidays and all that, but I look forward to trying those. And but as promised, I wanted to also ask about the apple pie whiskey. So you have a couple of flavored whiskeys, and some other hosts have spoken about the orange cream that can't be called creamsicle because of the whole trademark thing, but it's creamsicle. Right. It's one of those things I could say it, but you guys can't, So
right.
Yep. So the apple pie whiskey, I am just an apple pie whore. If it's apple pie or apple pie flavored, I want to try it. But you guys took a unique approach to this, and I'll let you talk about this. But the one thing I wanted to really highlight was it took 17 recipes to get to where you wanted. And I think if I heard it right, Thom, you were okay at 13, but Kim took another. It was like, no.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a good reason for that. Neither one of us liked an apple pie moonshine or anything that we found on the shelves. It was cinnamon and apple, just smack you in the face.
Every time that anyone has ever handed me any apple pie whiskey, or mainly it was always apple pie moonshine, pretty much all the ones that everybody ever handed me tasted like rubbing alcohol with apple juice poured in it. And I thought, this is terrible. And that's what I kept getting. That's what people kept handing me for years. And I thought, this is the god-awfulest stuff I've ever had in my life. So we never had any intention whatsoever of having an apple pie whiskey.
Or any flavored whiskey.
Yeah. But we knew we were probably going to do some flavors just because, cash flow while our bourbon's aging. But apple pie was not on the menu because of that, our distaste for most of what we've had. But I swear on day one, when we opened our doors and the first people came in and bought some of our Cinder and Smoke bourbon that we were sourcing and were put on sale the first day, that very first day, as they were checking out, people were saying, "When are you going to come out with an apple pie whiskey?" And we're like, apple pie. And we're like, what the hell are you talking about? Why is this the first thing you want to talk about?
You have a 13-year bourbon in one hand and you're asking for apple pie moonshine.
Yeah, but they were doing it. So then it just kept on and kept on. So after the first few months of operating, we had literally had 100 people just come in randomly and say, "Yeah, well, you need to come out with an apple pie." So we looked at each other and kind of with some screwed up faces, we looked at each other like, well, I guess we ought to try it. But we've made one deal with each other since day one. Every single thing that we ever put in a bottle has to be something that we're willing to drink at home. If it's not, we're not going to sell it because I can't feel good about that. If I'm selling you something and I'm like, next week I'm not going to start selling you a Malort, David, because, if I'm not going to go home and drink Malort, which why would you?
They call it that. They call it that for a reason.
Yeah, well, Malort. That's what I say when I do drink it. But if we don't drink it ourselves, I'm not going to sell it to you. So we made a deal. We said, all right, let's make it good. And it did. It took us 17 tries. I was at 13. I was thinking I can drink this. She still couldn't. At 17. And what we do is when we make a batch of anything, whether it's our bourbons, any of it, we'll bring some home and then we'll pour a little dram of it And if we don't finish what we poured before we're, done for the night watching TV or whatever, if there's still some in it, that means we still haven't hit it right yet. And we've done that on every batch of everything that we've ever done. And on the apple pie, on the 17th try, we're both sitting there. Next thing you know, we look down and both of us are sitting there, getting the last drop out of our little Glencairn full of apple pie whiskey. And we said, by God, we've done it. But yeah, that was quite an ordeal. But we're happy with it because we sent it off, I think, to the Ascot Awards, and it won a platinum or double platinum, and it also won best in category of flavored whiskeys. And I think their tasting notes, which I love, came back and said, this is what every apple pie whiskey should aspire to be. So that thrilled us to death, knowing that we made, in their mind, the best of something that she and I used to couldn't stand. So again, one of those karma things. It's amazing how that it's kind of like an artist. Don't ever put a song on your album that you can't sing the rest of your life, because guaranteed that's the one that's going to go to number one, and you'll have to sing it at every show forever. So make sure you like it before you release it. And that's kind of where we are with this one. But we're thrilled with it. We love it, especially in the wintertime. It's in all my hot toddies.
Makes it a great hot
toddy. We absolutely love it. We're thrilled with it.
We'll make sure you get some of these things we're talking about.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I know this will only go out in audio form, but listeners, you can probably imagine Kim's face every time Thom said the word Malort. It was a different version of just distaste, a bad memory coming up. I'll say personally, I don't mind it so much, but I also love black licorice.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
And well, see, I like black licorice, so. but I don't know.
It's black licorice to me.
Well, yeah, it's like a bad black licorice. Yeah. I don't know. One of these days, David, someone will hand me some Malort, and I'll go, that one's okay. But so far I'm thinking I need to put that on a rag and wipe it on something to. I mean, that's a carcinogen. That's a chemical I need to be using. I don't know.
For everyone.
You can put it on the rag and wipe the brow of the investor who's bothering you too much about the still being online.
Oh, that'll do it. There you go. I'll say, here, try this. This is what's going to make it.
Bought out the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Exactly right.
You maybe just think of a different question, which I always say when I'm reviewing something or doing tasting notes. I'll taste something at a distillery, happy to, whatever you put in front of me. It's an honor. I'll taste it. But I always do the reviews at home because it's got to be a neutral site. Everything tastes better at a distillery. And sometimes it matches. Sometimes it's a huge difference. So, you got to have the neutral site. The people who are doing the distilling and putting out these products, do you have the same experience that it tastes different at home than it does at the distillery?
Yes, I do. And because there's so much that goes into when you're drinking a spirit, which to us, those of us in the industry, those of us who are like you, who are real fans of this type of thing, of spirits, is that it's sensory. It's not just drinking it or getting drunk. Those type of people aren't our customers. That you go do your deal. This is all about sensory, and sensory isn't just one sense. It's not just your taste. It includes smell, hearing, temperature. There's so much that goes into it. You talk to Gary Spedding at BDAS. He loves talk about omics and sensory type situations, but it's an experience, which is what this is all about. What's the experience when you're enjoying this spirit. So yeah, if we're at work, we're stressed out, we're working, there's all kinds of things going on. I'm sitting there sipping on a whiskey, different temperature in there. I'm standing up. Yeah, when I'm tasting it, I might be able to kind of dial it in a little bit, but we still have to take it away from there. You need to get it into a setting where you're going to be enjoying it, because honestly, it's hard to enjoy it when you're making it and there's, noises and temperature changes and steam and people yelling and, stuff going on like that.
Nobody's yelling.
Sometimes I'm yelling. Maybe it's in my head. Maybe that's what's going on, but I can hear it. That's the important part. But no, it makes a huge difference. It really does. Which is why we try to, when people come into our distillery as a guest, we have our little tasting area, and we're trying to keep things, they're not in the production area. So it's calm, cool, and collected. They're having a good time. They're enjoying themselves. So to them, that is more to what they will experience somewhere else. So we hope that what they taste in our tasting room is what they are going to taste when they get home and they're trying it, because hopefully they're in a good mood and relaxed here. They're in a good mood and relaxed there. But it absolutely makes the difference. That's why you can't really do a good tasting in the middle of your production floor, because I can promise you it won't come across the same. It can't.
And I think it's a perfect segue into something that is coming online for you guys in potentially the next year or so, hopefully sooner, which is your new visitor center.
Right.
Yes.
And
yeah,
I haven't seen pictures, so I will rely on you for a description. From what I've heard, it's going to look like one of the most beautiful visitor centers at least in Kentucky, if not beyond.
Well, I hope. I sure hope that's what we're going for. Let's just say that we're trying to get it to there to where you walk in and you just feel like, okay, I could lounge here for the rest of the day. You know, that's the kind of places we like. We like walking in somewhere, and as soon as we walk in, we're like, okay, I'll be here. This is where you'll find me in an hour. When you feel that way, it's just, I mean, suddenly your guard's down, you're having a good time. And that's the kind of feeling we want to get to people.
I think that nostalgic feel when people come into the buildings and they've been in a school like that, or they've gone to a school like that in the past, they feel like they're home. So that really lends itself to what we're going for with this. You know, we don't want people to feel like they're in an institutional setting, school like atmosphere, but that step back in time, because the buildings were built in the 20s and 30s, I think is a really important part of the aesthetic. I don't know if I've heard it will be one of the most beautiful. That's a lot of pressure, but
that is a lot of pressure.
I hope it is, but
I'll call it. It's from a trusted source. I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
The people who have said so, but no,
wow,
it seems like there's a lot of promise there to build on what you're doing. You've got the signs
absolutely
now. 2 weeks old now. The signs brewing people over.
Yes.
Yep.
And it builds, I think, on this idea. Thom, you're the one I heard describe it this way. Kim, I'm sure you would say the same thing, which is that you want the Bard Distillery to be a destination.
Yes.
That you're already a harvest host site for RVs and campers. You're going to have distillery-only products. And as we spoke about earlier, now that there's a community of Western Kentucky distilleries, there's more of a reason for the, I was going to say less nerdy, less, I don't know, for an everyday consumer who's just looking to enjoy the bourbon trail and try new things. There's more incentive for them to travel and go there, visit you guys, visit your neighbors nearby. With as you envision the distillery growing, be it to maybe all 3 buildings online, the 33 acres in full use in some way, more products, more a visitor center, all of these things that you're expanding to. I guess my first question is, do you take, is there pride and pressure to doing all that, to getting all of this online, and I guess doing it in a sustainable way? Because it's all about that. You know, you don't want to be a flash in the pan. You want to sustain this for long-term growth.
Mm-hmm. You nailed it. It's not a promise to our local community, but it's something that they're expecting. You know, they want to come in there and the buildings look presentable and feel like that home that they're used to. It's also people that have been there before, that have visited with us and for the first time, and they can't wait to come back and see it when it's done. So there's that pressure. And I know Thom's taking great pride in working on the buildings and making sure that, I mean, some days I walk in and he's on a project, and to me, it's a tiny detail, reworking a piece of wood that is going to be way up high, that probably 10 people might see during the year when they visit, but he's making sure that is what he wants them to see. So there's a lot of things that I don't understand sometimes when I'm watching him work.
Well, that's just general being married. Is why are you doing that?
But
shouldn't you be doing something that I want you to do?
Yeah,
that's just marriage.
Just want to do it faster.
Yeah, and I do too. I do.
But I understand the process, and I understand what we have at stake here. And when people do visit again, and we're starting to get a lot of repeats, and we're so thankful for that. And they're watching us grow, and they're watching the buildings change in front of them. You know, they'll come 2 or 3 times a year, and each time they come, there's something added. The old gymnasium where we're at right now, it's a beautiful space. And when people, they don't expect that. They walk up the sidewalk, and for some reason they only see the little area where they walk in as the visitor center and tasting room. But when they walk through the doors into the gymnasium and they see this beautiful space of original hardwoods on the floor and the original barrel hardwood ceiling, it's a beautiful space. So going from that to the other buildings, I want them to get that sense of wow when they walk in the same way.
And what we think about all the time is, you know, this is a legacy. It's part of our legacy of having been on this earth. And because, you know, you don't have to leave something like this, you know, when you go, but you want to make it to where when we're gone, it doesn't go with us. You want to leave something that the community has taken pride in, that the people here say this is ours. That we want Muhlenberg County as a whole, and this whole area, this whole region, especially Graham, little town we're in, to say this is our distillery, not Thom and Kim. You know, Thom and Kim may have been gone for 50 years, but this is our distillery still here. And that's what we're trying to build. And that's what we keep in mind when we're doing all this work, is that, you know, the people that started Jack Daniels, none of them are still around. You know, that's been 150, 160 years. But Jack Daniels is still there, and Lynchburg is very proud of it. That's kind of the type of thing that we focus on. So is there pressure? Yeah, but it's fun because we enjoy what we do. We're able to make a quasi living doing it. You know, don't go into this and make a lot of money. I'll tell you that right now. But we're enjoying doing it. We want it to be here long after we're gone. We want this entire area to say this is their distillery, not Thom and Kim's. And that's what we focus on. And we're having a great time and finally starting to see the fruits of our labor pay off a little bit. So it's a good time.
I like it. And I think the last question I have for you then, because you addressed the legacy question, is with you've spoken about the town. It was coal country, then the coal went away, and then school became the identity. It's a refrain that is unfortunately very common across. One second. Something just reset. Okay, you can still hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, something reset in the middle. So anyway, all good. So right. So unfortunately, it's a common story across a lot of Appalachia, up and down, where the coal ran out or this industry left. It doesn't have to be coal. It just happens to be the example for Graham and Muhlenberg County. With envisioning this larger Bard Distillery, the column, more production, potentially more jobs, not just getting people off the highway the first time, but Kim, as you're saying, the repeat customers who are coming back.
Yeah.
Do you envision yourselves becoming an economic driver for the town and the county?
Absolutely. And that's, you know, the brown sign was one of our largest goals, because we knew the impact it would have on our local community. Just being here for the last few years that we've been here, when people come in our distillery, they want to know where to eat, where to stay, like any other distillery. You know, they want to spend more time than just being there for a day. If they've come all the way to Western Kentucky, they're going to need to spend the night to see all of us. So, you know, we've known that from the start, and it's been difficult getting our side of our end of I'll just say Muhlenberg County to embrace that, but they're starting to see it now that the brown signs are up.
Yeah, over in Western Kentucky, when you get away from the main triangle in Kentucky, you know, they're just now starting to wrap their heads around how big tourism is, or even how big the Bourbon Trail is in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So you're just now starting to see in our regions, you know, tourism departments starting to crank up and try to figure out, you know, how does this work? How do you get people to come here? But they've realized that that's a huge economic driver. You can get people to come in just to see what you got. So we're in the early stages of that in our region, I think, but we're making pretty good strides. So if we can play a part in that of being one more thing that gets people here, and then once they see us and see the other distilleries and say, hey, what else is there to do? Oh, well, now we're getting more and more things to point them towards. We're getting, city visitor bureaus and tourism departments in these surrounding counties to start put things out there saying, hey, come see this, come do that. So yeah, we just want to be a part of that cog. That's kind of what we envision because I grew up here. This is home to me. My family's been here for hundreds of years in this county, and we've seen a lot of people, in order to have the life they want, they had to leave, and me included. I came back, but it's a beautiful place. We love being here. It's home. So anything we can do to make this a place that when you mention it, people know about it, people want to come to it, and also the people want to stay. That's what we're in this for, because this is home. We want home to be something that everyone's proud of, and we're trying to just be a small part of that.
And I don't know the exact year you said the 1820s, but any plans for 200th anniversary of Moving to Muhlenberg County release?
Well, the thing is, that was last year. That was actually 2 years ago. So we thought about it, but then we, again, that's one of those deals where you want to do it,
bandwidth.
But it was bandwidth. It was a bandwidth thing. And also we thought, we're so small, no one's going to care about that right now. And it would have been basically doing it for me and her. We say, hey, look what we made. We have all 2 bottles that we ever made. But also at the same time, we were doing some other commemorative bottles because around that same time frame, Central City, Kentucky had their 150th anniversary. Of course, we've done some things for John Prine, celebrating him and some things like that. So it was all in the mix of that. And we thought, well, it's fun, it's cool. And if we were a 15, 20-year-old distillery with a much larger following and fan base, we could really celebrate that. But instead, we just celebrated privately, going, well, we're still on the same farm, still living in the same spot for 200 years. Good for us. We've managed to breed and survive over 200 years. And that's kind of where we kept it.
Love it. Kim, Thom, thank you so much for coming on, for taking extra time with me to get through all my questions. I really hope I have the opportunity to visit you guys. Maybe I'll wait until the visitor center is open so I can get the full experience.
Okay.
But
see, now there's pressure. Now we have to hurry up. So now,
or you can come see it now, and we'll take you over to see what it's going to be, and then when you can come back another time and see it finished.
I'll look at plane tickets. I'll see what we can do.
All right. Good.
The good thing is,
I got the promise with Karen too. So
there you go.
Well, I mean, the good thing is Green River, Dueling Grounds, MB Rowland, Casey Jones, B.H. James. They've already got their crap together. Unlike us, their distilleries. I mean, their visitor centers are ready to go and rocking. So come see theirs and then go. Okay, let's see what Thom and Kim are actually working on. But just get out here. Get out here and come see us all. We'd love to see you.
And thank you for doing your homework. You really did a great job of knowing us and digging into our past, and it's refreshing.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Appreciated. I want to make it as much worth your time as mine and listeners. So hang over with me for just a minute after recording to close out. Thank you everyone for listening. There will be links to, of course, where you can follow the Bard Distillery, where you can find them, where you can get their products, where they're distributed, whether in person or online, in the show notes for this episode when it goes live. Thank you all for listening, rating, subscribing, and I'll see you all next week.